Let me share a truth that makes many people uneasy. You don't actually need a lot of money to live a good life. But almost no one believes that anymore. People have been conditioned, almost trained, to think that comfort comes from earning more, not from thinking better. That belief is one of the most dangerous illusions of modern life. Because here's the reality. You cannot out-earn poor judgment. No matter how high your income climbs, if you lack self-control, you'll still end up struggling financially. The only difference is that you'll be surrounded by nicer things while lying awake at night, stressed and exhausted. I've watched this cycle repeat for over 70 years. Intelligent people, impressive careers, six-figure incomes, yet they're still living paycheck to paycheck. Not because of bad luck, but because they refuse to live logically. They can't say no to constant spending. And modern society has made that temptation louder than ever. Advertising has twisted the narrative. Saving is portrayed as embarrassing. Restraint is framed as suffering. Being careful with money is painted as being poor. That message is everywhere, and it's deliberate. But here's the truth they won't tell you. Living below your means isn't a sacrifice, it's freedom. When your expenses are low, you own your time. When your obligations are small, you can walk away from foolish decisions, bad environments, and unnecessary stress. That is real independence. Yet most people don't actually want freedom. They want validation. They would rather appear wealthy than truly be secure. And they are willing to trade years, sometimes decades, of peace just to impress people who aren't even paying attention. I've seen this story repeat again and again. People chasing the next raise, the next title, the next luxury purchase, convinced that more money will solve problems created by poor thinking. It never does. Higher income does not fix bad habits. It only magnifies them. If someone can't manage $1,000 responsibly, they won't suddenly manage $10,000 wisely. If they can't save while earning $50,000 a year, they won't suddenly become disciplined at $200,000. The math doesn't change. The mistakes just get bigger. The only difference is that now there are better clothes, a nicer car, and more distractions hiding the truth. Numbers don't respond to emotions. They don't care how you feel. They simply multiply the consequences of your choices, whether those choices are smart or careless. This is what most people completely overlook. The amount of money you truly need to live comfortably is far lower than you've been led to believe. That's because comfort doesn't come from earning more. It comes from thinking clearly. You don't have to live buried in debt. You don't have to keep buying things you barely remember wanting. You don't have to impress anyone. You only need to stop pretending that math doesn't apply to you. Warren and I built Berkshire on a few basic ideas. Spend less than you make. Invest what's left. Do it consistently for a long time. That's all wealth has ever been. It's simple. But simple doesn't mean easy. It demands discipline. And discipline is never trendy. The world sells excitement, not restraint. You'll never see an advertisement that says, "Buy nothing and stay financially stable." There's no profit in teaching people to think calmly and clearly. That's why the responsibility falls on you. Choose peace over pleasure. Choose clarity over clutter. Choose control over convenience. If you want a comfortable life, begin by keeping your monthly expenses low. Because as your bills increase, your freedom shrinks. Every subscription, every loan, every unnecessary charge becomes another weight you carry. Another obligation tying you down. If the only time you feel relaxed is when your paycheck hits on Friday, you aren't living freely. You're leasing peace of mind, and anything rented can be taken away. Rented peace never lasts. Now let me talk about what I call the monthly expense treadmill. Modern life is designed to create obligations. It starts small, a streaming service here, a car payment there, then a larger home because you feel you've earned it, then furniture for that home, insurance for the car, gadgets to match the lifestyle. And one day, you wake up realizing you're working just to keep the machine running. The machine you slowly built yourself. It's a silent trap. You don't feel it closing in because each new expense seems reasonable on its own. But when you add them together, reasonable choices can become financial disaster. The harder you run on that treadmill, the faster it moves, and the only way to win is to step off. How do you do that? By choosing intentional simplicity, not deprivation, not suffering, just clarity. Start with one simple step. Write down exactly what you owe every month. That's where control begins. Write down every recurring payment you have, every monthly bill, every automatic charge you've stopped noticing. Then ask yourself one uncomfortable but honest question. If I lost my job tomorrow, how long could I survive without panicking? For most people, the answer isn't even 30 days. That isn't security. That's gambling with your stability. People who build real wealth don't think this way. They focus on what I call a margin of safety. It's a principle we use in investing. Don't allow one bad event to wipe you out. Design your life so it can survive long, dry spells without collapsing. And the first step to building that margin isn't earning more money. It's owing less money. Lower expenses increase endurance. They buy you time, flexibility, and the power to say no when life starts making bad demands. And trust me, life makes those demands often. When I was young in Omaha, I watched people spend as if they were immortal. They believed money would always be there, and time was unlimited. Years later, I see those same people older, exhausted, and resentful, still paying for lifestyles they no longer enjoy. Here's the truth. When you tie your happiness to consumption, it fades as quickly as the battery in your latest gadget. But when you tie happiness to independence, it grows quietly over time. Keeping your expenses low does more than protect your bank account. It protects your mental health. It removes stress from your mornings. You stop waking up worried about interest rates, layoffs, or daily market swings because you've already built a smaller, smarter ship, one that can survive rough waters. When people ask me how to get rich, I often tell them to start by not acting poor. And acting poor doesn't mean earning less. It means needing more. Every unnecessary bill is a small surrender of freedom. Every fixed payment is a promise you made to keep working harder just to stay in the same place. The real tragedy is that most people call this normal. They think budgeting is a form of punishment. But budgeting is actually self-respect. It's you telling your future self, I'm not going to sabotage you. Simply tracking what you spend changes your behavior, because once you see the leak, you naturally start fixing the pipe. You can't repair what you refuse to measure. That's why a simple written list, income minus expenses, is often more powerful than the most advanced financial software. It forces you to confront reality instead of hiding behind excuses. And once you see the numbers clearly, you start cutting decisively. Cancel the subscriptions you forgot you were paying for. Refinance or aggressively pay down high-interest debt. Stop replacing things that still work perfectly fine. And please, don't confuse sales with savings. A discount on something you don't need is still money wasted. The objective isn't to live a joyless or restrictive life. The objective is to create breathing room. You want a life where one broken appliance or an unexpected car repair doesn't destroy everything you've built. Because if a single surprise expense can collapse your finances, that expense isn't the real problem. The problem is the structure. That's a design failure. Keeping your bills low isn't only about dollars and cents. It's about mental clarity. When your fixed costs are small, you gain flexibility. You can take calculated risks, invest with confidence, and move through life with a sense of calm. When those costs are heavy, you're trapped. You become dependent on the next paycheck, no matter how large it is. I've met countless professionals who feel stuck in jobs they dislike, not because they lack income, but because they've taken on too many obligations. They locked themselves into what I call golden handcuffs, polished, impressive, and quietly suffocating. Always remember this: the goal is freedom, not luxury, and the road to freedom is built through subtraction, not addition. Lower your monthly burn rate, and your peace of mind rises automatically. Every dollar you don't owe is a dollar that can work for you. Every bill you eliminate becomes another layer of protection around your independence. Now let's address something most people get completely backwards. They believe wealth is about how much you earn. It's not. It's about how much you keep. You cannot out-earn poor judgment. I'll repeat that because it matters. If you earn $1 million and spend $1 million, you aren't wealthy. You're simply breaking even for now. That's why the most financially intelligent people I know consistently live below their means. Not at them, and certainly not above them. When I was younger, I noticed a pattern that stuck with me. The janitor who saved 10 cents of every dollar retired with peace. The lawyer who spent 11 cents of every dollar retired with regret. The difference wasn't income, it was behavior. What truly matters is the gap between what comes in and what goes out. That gap is your freedom. It's your margin of safety in life. It's what allows you to invest, think clearly, and walk away from bad decisions before they cause damage. If your lifestyle grows every time your income increases, you're not moving forward. You're just running faster on the same treadmill. People call it upgrading their lifestyle. I call it upgrading their anxiety. This truth may be uncomfortable, but it needs to be said. You will never feel like you have enough if you can't be content with enough. Every dollar you overspend buys a short-lived thrill and a long-term obligation. Over time, you become trapped by a standard of living that doesn't truly belong to you. And that's how freedom quietly slips away. I've said before that the first rule of compounding is simple. Never interrupt it unless you absolutely have to. That rule doesn't only apply to investing, it applies to behavior. When you constantly pause your savings to chase the next shiny purchase, compounding never gets the opportunity to work. And given enough time, compounding is one of the most powerful forces in the world. Here's a principle I've followed my entire life. If you earn $1,000, live on $500 and put the rest to work. Do that consistently, year after year, and the results will surprise you. Small surpluses, allowed to compound for decades, outperform large incomes that are wasted in a matter of months every single time. Living below your means doesn't mean living poorly. It means building your life with intention. It means owning fewer but better things, keeping commitments light, and giving yourself space to think, breathe, and move freely. I've known people who built significant wealth simply by not behaving foolishly. They weren't financial prodigies. They were consistent. They understood that comfort built on debt isn't real comfort. It's camouflage. Most people chase financial freedom as if it's a jackpot waiting to be won. But freedom isn't a prize. It's the outcome of discipline repeated quietly over many years. It's not something you stumble into. It's something you practice. When you live below your means, interesting things begin to happen. You stop trying to keep up. You stop comparing yourself to others. You stop feeling the constant urge to want more. That's when compounding starts working in your favor instead of against you. Every dollar you save becomes a soldier working on behalf of your independence. Every impulse purchase is a soldier that deserts the mission. And too many people make the mistake of sacrificing their future for the sake of appearances. The irony is that once you stop living for image, life actually improves. Less clutter, less debt, more peace. You begin to understand that happiness isn't driven by consumption. It comes from control. You'll often hear people say, "You only live once, so spend it." That way of thinking is short-sighted. If you spend everything, you may only live once before running out of options. A wiser mindset is this: you only live once, so live with foresight. Every financial choice you make is really a decision about time. Spend carelessly, and you trade future years for fleeting moments. Spend thoughtfully, and you purchase decades of calm. That, quietly and steadily, is the real luxury. What truly matters is time and peace, not gadgets, labels, or status symbols. Here's a simple test I often give people. If you lost your job today, how many months could you comfortably stay home? If the answer is 0, then you don't actually control your lifestyle. Your lifestyle controls you. Living below your means creates what Warren and I refer to as optionality. It gives you choices. It allows you to take risks, invest boldly, or simply step back and rest without fear. It's how you make sure the game doesn't end before you're ready to walk away. Most people believe success automatically brings security. It doesn't. Only restraint does. The best investors, the most content retirees, and the calmest people I've ever known all treat restraint as a core principle, almost like a personal code. Because here's the uncomfortable reality. You can't benefit from compounding if you don't save, and you can't save if you don't control your impulses. So before chasing the next stock tip, the next promotion, or the next clever strategy, look at your habits. If your spending grows every time your income increases, you're not advancing, you're inflating. And eventually, inflated systems break. The smartest financial move isn't earning one more dollar. It's learning to resist spending the dollar you already have. Do that consistently, and wealth becomes unavoidable. Not because you found a shortcut, but because you stopped making unnecessary mistakes. Now let's talk about something most people completely misunderstand: unexpected money, bonuses, tax refunds, overtime pay, inheritances. This is where many people fail their real financial test. They label it extra money, as if it doesn't count. Because it feels free, they spend it freely. A few weeks later, it's gone, and they can't even remember what it was spent on. Let me be clear. How you handle unexpected money tells me everything about your financial maturity. If you waste it, you're acting on impulse, If you plan with it, you're building your future. When you receive more than usual, don't rush to reward yourself. Pause. Think. Ask one simple question. What will this dollar do for me a year from now? If the answer is nothing, you're about to make a small but meaningful mistake against your future self. You don't need brilliance to build wealth. You just need to stop behaving recklessly when luck shows up. I've watched people turn modest windfalls into lifelong advantages. They didn't celebrate with trips or new cars. They eliminated debt. They created emergency reserves. They bought themselves security. And that decision changed everything. They chose assets that kept working quietly while they slept. Others took the same money, spent it on flashy distractions, and then wondered why life never seemed to get easier. Luck is wasted on people without discipline. Every dollar you handle with intention grows over time. Every dollar you spend carelessly vanishes and teaches you nothing. That's why I always tell young people this. When extra money shows up, treat it as if it may never come again. Because often it won't. If you don't give money a job, it will find trouble. And money has a habit of drifting toward trouble. Responsible people plan before the money arrives. They already know the rules. If I receive a bonus, half goes toward investments, 30% goes to reducing debt, and 20% is reserved for enjoyment. It's simple, predictable, rational. No emotions involved. Emotion is what destroys financial progress. People get a small taste of success and immediately feel the urge to display it. They forget that quiet money compounds, while loud money disappears. You don't need to live like a monk, but you do need to think like a strategist. Because money without a plan will always flow toward waste. When you decide in advance where every extra dollar goes, you remove randomness from your life. And randomness is what derails most people. The difference between those who build wealth and those who stay stuck isn't opportunity. It's discipline. Discipline applied to things that seem small today. That modest bonus you invested could be the reason your mortgage disappears 20 years from now. That tax refund used to eliminate debt might save you decades of interest payments. That extra paycheck placed into an index fund instead of spent on a vacation could buy you freedom while others are still clocking in. People underestimate how quickly discipline compounds. They think it's just a few $100. But a few hundred, invested wisely and repeated consistently, turns into independence faster than most imagine. The world doesn't reward the smartest people. It rewards the most consistent ones. Consistency may look boring, but it works. Here's how I see it. Every dollar you earn faces a decision. It can work for you, or it can work against you. If you spend it, it's gone. And that choice, made over and over, is what shapes your future. When you invest a dollar, it goes to work and recruits more dollars on your behalf. Over time, that small force grows into something powerful. The real tragedy is that most people never allow their money to work at all. They dismiss it the moment it shows up. It isn't the market that keeps people struggling. It's the lack of a plan. People don't lose money because of bad luck. They lose it because their behavior is consistently poor. You don't need perfection. You need intention. If a bonus comes in, have a plan. If you receive a refund, have a plan. If you experience a windfall, have a plan. The moment you plan, you stop gambling. And wealth has never been built through gambling. It's built through patience, consistency, and clear thinking. Now let me talk about something that makes many people uncomfortable. Shopping. Shopping has become a modern belief system. Temples on every corner, open every day of the week, all delivering the same message. You deserve this. But history is full of people who deserved comfort and still ended up with nothing. I'm not against enjoying life. I'm against poor decisions. And much of today's spending is simply poor judgment disguised as self-care. You walk into a store needing one item and leave with 5. You open an app just to look, and somehow you've purchased another gadget you'll forget about in a week. That isn't chance, it's design. Corporations spend billions studying human behavior. They know exactly how to trigger clicks, impulses, and emotional reactions. Often, they understand your habits better than you do. Every impulsive purchase is a win for them, and a small loss for you. That's why I follow one rule that saved me millions over a lifetime. Never buy